Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Masaki, and I'm a constructive speaker from the affirmative side. I'll do my best. Thank you.
Thank you, Jefferson. My name is Shiu Kyoka. I am a tax speaker from the affirmative side. I will do my best. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Keda Kuda. I'm a defense speaker from the affirmative side. I will do my best. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson, and judges and the audience. My name is Saitama. I'm a summary speaker from the affirmative side. I will do my best. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now have brief introduction from the negative side members.
Thank you, Chairperson, judges, and audience. My name is Sakura Bano. I'm a constructive speaker on the negative side. I'm so glad to be here, and also I'm so glad to debate with Utsunomiya High School. I want to thank you for Oha Sensei and Sagara Sensei and Mio Sensei. I want to enjoy this round with my best friends. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson, honorable judges, and audience, of course, opponent. My name is Ginko Yamamoto. I'm a speaker from the negative side. I want to say thank you to my senior and to my juniors. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson, honorable judges, and all of the audience. My name is Erika. I'm defense speaker from the negative side. I'm so nervous now because I didn't expect that I can stand here. So I want to enjoy this round. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Yuri Shigiyama. I'm a summary speaker from the negative side. I'm also very, very glad to be here. I want to say thank you, all of you here. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Masaki. Japan should significantly relax its immigration policy. Plan. We give language education to immigrants. 81. Boost economy. Boost economy. Because of aging and decreasing population, Japanese economy will decline for lack of workers and consumers. According to Cabinet Office, a country's economy is decided by the number of workers. With a decrease from 6.5 million workers to 3.7 million from 2014 to 2060, Japanese economy will drastically shrink. Also, according to Nihon Keizai Kenkyu Center, in 2050, the total consumption will decrease by 33%. Then the economy will suffer from minus growth, minus 0.6%. This minus growth will shrink economy and lead to the decrease in tax revenue. As a result, the standard of living will decline by 20%. To keep the same standard of social security service, Japan will have to raise the consumption tax to 25%. Effect: 10 million immigrants will be workers and consumers. With sufficient workers, companies can maintain its economic activities. With 10 million consumers, Japan can get a big market. This can boost economy. According to Professor Goto at Keio University, the economic benefit by 10 million immigrants will be 71 trillion yen. Economic profit directly related to tax income. According to the research by Nomura Research Institute for Finance and Economy about the cost and tax revenue, immigrants will bring benefit. Calculated in the case of 10 million immigrants, in their fifth year, tax revenue will exceed cost by 0.2 trillion yen, but in the 30th year, annual net benefit will be 7.6 trillion yen. Then Japan will not have to raise consumption tax. Importance: good economy is a lifeline for Japanese people. Lack of service, lack of social welfare, higher consumption tax will greatly damage the life of Japanese citizens. If consumption tax raised to 25%, the financial burden on one household would be, on average, 578,000 yen a year, according to Daiichi Sankyo. This burden is so serious, especially for the weakest people, such as elderly or disabled people. We must avoid this terrible situation. 82. Japan can get care workers. Japan can get care workers. Pre-student. Now, Japan is facing a serious aging study. Cabinet Office estimated in 2065, 38.4% of Japanese population will be elderly people, and the demand for care workers will drastically increase. Social Security Council estimated from 2015 to 2060, the number of people who need care service will increase by 3.61 million. Then, even in 2035, Japan will lack 680,000 care workers, according to the Ministry of Economy. and 2 million people cannot get care service if we calculate the data from Ministry of Labor. Facing the shortage, other countries are depending on immigrants. For example, Germany, 2,100 immigrants. In Italy, 700,000 immigrants are now working in care services. In fact, considering Japanese high salary level, such as 7.2 times higher than Thailand, many immigrants will come to Japan to care workers. In fact, after EPA came into effect in 2009, 4,000 Filipinos applied for care workers within only 2 weeks. So after that, Japan can get care staff, not only care workers, but also home helpers whose license is easily available even for foreigners. Professor Koto at Keio University estimated 10 million immigrants will boost Japanese care industry by 20%. Therefore, Japan can provide every or disabled people can get care service. Importance. Care service is essential for weak people. So in the coming aging society, getting enough care workers is a priority. Care worker shortage increases the violence to the elderly, such as 3 deaths in Kawasaki. Also increases the number of lonely deaths, which has already increased to 30,000 in 2015. Everyone will become elderly in the future. To guarantee a stable life to every single citizen, we need this plan. Our 81 is the boost economy, and our 82 is Japan can get care workers. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Let me ask some questions. My name is Shiga. First, about your 81, you said about the 71 previous evidence, right?
Yeah.
Who wrote this evidence?
According to Professor Koto at Keio University.
Okay, so when is the evidence written?
Written in it's 2017.
2017?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. May I go to the next question about your tax revenue? You said about tax revenue, you can get 7.6 trillion yen, right?
Yes.
So is it whole 50 years?
It's a 30th year.
Sorry?
30.
30?
Yes.
So how do you calculate?
So we have the evidence of the immigrants' benefit, and it says that in the 30th year, we can get such amount of benefits for them.
Okay, thank you. So your impact is less of the burden of social security system, right?
Our importance is the
Less burden, right?
less
Decrease burden of social security system by increasing tax revenue, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. May I go to the next question about 82? How many shortage in the care workers field? Shortage number?
So in 2035, Japan will lack 680,000 care workers.
680,000.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So how many immigrants will take those kinds of jobs? Why can you say immigrants will surely taking the care workers' job?
So we cannot say the clear number for after this time, but even in the present severe situation for the EPA system, 4,000 people apply for care workers, and we accept all.
Did you share any evidences about it in constructive speech?
We have the Filipinos cases.
Did you show?
Yeah, okay, I'll show you later.
Did you show in constructive speech?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So how many is your target number?
Sorry, pardon?
How many is your target number? Target number. So how many elderly people can we save? Please stop.
2 million.
Thank you.
At least 2 million.
Question time has ended.
Thank you, Chairperson. I will start my constructive speech. My name is Sakura Banno. First, year 1, the pension system will fall into decline. Presentation. People may think Japanese pension system will not work because of decreasing working population, but it is not exactly correct. According to the financial track about future pension system in 2014, the Welfare and Labor Ministry simulated many scenarios of future economic situations. However, media announced only the worst and least possible economic scenario. In Nikkei style, Shunsuke Masaki, an economist, says, quote, "The ministry announced that this financial check made it clear that the Japanese pension system will be able to work well financially and sustain itself in the future, using the macroeconomic strategy system and the special stock budget. Japan is likely to be able to maintain the ideal payment percentage or even improve its financial situation," unquote. In fact, 1. 10 million immigrants will come. 2. In 50 years, they will get old and need pension money adding to Japanese elderly people. 3. We will have more and more elderly immigrants year by year, so Japan will need even more immigrant workers to keep higher working population to support the larger elderly population. Problems will happen here. There is no guarantee many immigrants will come to Japan every year after the first 50 years. According to Masashi Kawai National Institute of Population and Social Security Research, there is a high possibility of immigrants not coming anymore because of the same aging problem in 50 years as Japan has now. According to Swiss Info Channel, in Switzerland, immigrants support its pension money, but in 30 to 40 years, they will be the recipients. Nobody can pay for them at the time. So it is a very bad idea to introduce this resolution without thinking about what is waiting for us. Importance. The pension system is Japan's safety net for all Japanese people. The macroeconomic strike and the special stock budget will not work anymore on such a large shortage, so the Japanese pension system will fall into decline. According to the Welfare and Labor Ministry, 70% of the elderly people's income is from the pension money. They cannot live without the pension money. They will not be able to eat, wear clothes, go to the hospital, and use water, electricity, or gas. We should not make them lead such a miserable lifestyles at the end of their lives. Next, year 2. The Japanese workers will lose their jobs. Presentation. The 2016 labor force survey by the Statistics Bureau showed that the unemployment rate in Japan has been going down for more than 6 years. According to the OECD, Japan's unemployment rate is just 3.1%, so it's in 34th place among the 35 OECD countries. Effect. According to the Japan Institute for Labor Policy, quote, immigrants in Japan work under worse conditions than Japanese workers. For example, they work for lower wages or longer hours, unquote. If Japan takes this plan, the following will happen. 1. 10 million immigrants will work for lower wages and longer hours than Japanese workers everywhere in Japan. 2. Owners of Japanese companies will notice they can save money if they employ immigrants. 3. They will start to employ immigrants instead of Japanese workers when their working contracts are over. According to Reuters Enterprise Research 2015, 76% of Japanese companies answered that they agreed to employ immigrants as unskilled workers to make up for shortages in the labor forces. Many Japanese workers will be replaced immigrant workers. According to the Migration Advisory Committee, in the UK, 160,000 domestic workers have already been replaced by immigrant workers. Importance. When people lose their jobs, they lose both income and hope in life. A research paper titled, Causes of Suicide and the Economic and Social Inferences by Kyoto University, specially requested by the Cabinet Office. This paper points out a deep relationship between losing jobs and suicide. Look at this graph. Blue line is unemployment rate and red line is suicide rate. As you can see, Dr. Tochigi, an educational sociologist, says a 1% increase in unemployment rate causes more than 2,000 suicides. We can only, actually in France, the unemployment rate went up from 3% to 8.5% after the immigration policy change. With the introduction of this resolution, Japan will lose many lives unnecessarily. Therefore, we insist that we should not significantly rewrite its immigration policies. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Speaker. We will now have a 1 minute preparation time.
Thank you, Chairperson, judges, and audience. My name is Saitama. Firstly, in our dear one, how much pension will decrease in the future?
Decrease?
How much pension will decrease, or which elderly people can get decrease in the future?
We want to say that we will be able to sustain its pension system.
So when we cannot maintain this pension system?
After the first 50 years, the burden will increase by 388 trillion yen.
So until after 19 years, in 29 years, we can maintain it, right?
We want to say that the most important thing is that why we introduce this plan, that we know that after the first 50 years, that serious problem will happen. But why we introduce immigrants?
Okay, thank you. So
this is very serious.
After plan, though every year immigrants, working immigrants will come to Japan. Why only elderly people will increase in the after plan?
Sorry.
So even though we will accept working immigrants after plan, why working immigrants year by year, why only elderly people will increase?
Because after the first 50 years, in HEnDA's definition, there is no guarantee that many immigrants will come to Japan.
Okay,
after the first
thank
8
you.
years.
Next question. Why immigrants' wages are lower than native Japanese?
Actually, immigrants will work under worse conditions.
Ah.
But on the other hand, as for the immigrants,
Why can
their
apply
wage is
this
higher than that.
in after plan?
Sorry?
Why can apply this analysis?
Because
in after
the
plan?
situation will not change.
Change. Okay. Next question. How many people will lose their job?
About 6.7 million.
Okay, please show me the evidence later. And even though it's time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. I start my attack speech. My name is Nico. First, go to the 81's presentation effect. They said after the plan, the Japanese economy will go up. However, it is not. Their 81 is lack of uniqueness. Even now, Japanese economy will get better and better. According to Toyo Keizai Online, Japanese economy is getting better for 21 straight months. So their argument is lack of uniqueness. So we don't have to take this plan. So what they say was not important. Next, go to their presentation effect. They said after this plan, Japanese economy will go up and also tax revenue will increase. However, it is not important because without taking this plan, Japanese social security system will be sustained. According to the Zaimsho, when consumption tax rate raised up from 8% to 10% in 2019, Japanese government can maintain social security system because if consumption tax rate 1% increase up, the Japanese government can 2.7 trillion yen tax revenue will get. So when 2% up, Japanese government get finally 5.4 trillion yen. So Zaimsho is also saying that this money is enough to maintain social security systems. Therefore, we don't have to take this plan. And next, go to their effect importance. They said after this plan, the burden for social security system will decrease. However, it is not important because according to Nakatani Ryota from Stotsubashi University, when even if Japanese government accepts 200,000 immigrants every year in 2067, only 1% change. However, we checked the evidence more carefully that after 2067, the burden will increase year by year. So what they said was lack of uniqueness. And next, go to their effect. They said after this plan, the tax revenue 3.8 trillion yen will increase. However, it is so important because their evidence against this resolution. The weak point is their evidence is 30 years and also 100,000 immigrants every year. So this evidence is against this resolution. Next, go to the 82. They said the labor shortage of care workers is serious. However, it is not important because according to Shiga, the number of care workers is increasing now more than twice compared with before the 10 years. So their 82 is lack of uniqueness. Next, go to the 82. Affecting importance, they said they can save the elderly people because immigrants can be care workers, but they are weak points. First point is that they don't prove why can they say that immigrants surely take care of job. And the second, why can they say that immigrants can solve the labor shortage of care worker fields? And third point is about their numbers. They didn't show any evidence with their numbers, so they have to explain how to the target number. Next, go to the effective importance. They said they admit that after the plan, the owner of immigrants will get better in Japan. However, we focus on this point. The demand of the immigrant care workers, the demand of elderly people of care workers will increase. So, well, they say what's not
Please
important.
stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Keita Kuda. About your 81 first data point, you said that even now the economic growth rate is happening, right? Economic is growing, right?
Yes, even now the Japanese economy will
So how many years will it continue to wait?
So even now the 21 straight months will continue to get economy.
So okay. Your second data point, you said that so we could maintain welfare with raising consumption tax, right?
Yes.
From 8% to 10%. So where can say this evidence is superior to our evidence that we have to raise consumption tax to 25% to maintain welfare? Where can say your evidence is superior?
Sorry?
So where can say your evidence is superior to our evidence?
But we want to say that as Daimsho is saying that if the
So even in the future?
So yes, future.
How many years?
So after 2019, the Japanese government can get revenue and cross the 5.4 trillion every year.
I'm sorry, okay. So 82. First data point you said that so care worker is increasing, right?
Yes.
So we can say this increased care worker will cover the huge increasing in care demand for care worker, such as rapidly increasing because of the increasing elderly.
So focus on our last attack. They admit the aspect plan. All of immigrants will get better. Will get order in Japan. So after plan, the demand of immigrants, care worker will increase and because of the immigrants.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Shiu. Firstly, I will attack to the DA1, but no possibility to happen. No possibility to have a balanced structure. According to VOX, because working population occupy a lot in population structure of immigrants, they just contribute for the finance. Actually, according to Nomura Shoken Daisei Kenkyusho, we will get contribution from immigrants far from burden. These evidence are coming from professional calculation, and their evidence is just they are calculated on their hand. So that's our evidence is more believable. Therefore, their impact may never happen. 2. No problem in long term. According to New York Times, in long term, financial problem will disappear. Second and third generation immigrants will contribute in tax revenue because they can assimilate to the society. And the number of contribution is bigger than loss which made by first generations. So in the aspect of long term, there are no problems, which is true. And in long term, they will be burdened or not. Of course, they will be benefit because if they even if they will be elderly, still the young people will come from all over the world, right? So and their children can gain more. So surely make benefit. 3. According to Jinko Mondai Kenkyusho, accepting immigrants relieve acceleration of aging society. Japanese finance will be better considering cost of immigrants. Keeping present situation is much more serious. Comparing the simulation, social security burden rate will be lower by accepting immigrants even in the future. And moreover, according to RIEPI, immigrants increase welfare payment for citizens by 20% in 2030. So even if we will have burden, the situation will be better. Next year, I will back to the DA2. 1. No possibility to have burden structure. Unemployment. According to VOX, immigrants were not randomly allocated to labor market, but might well choose the labor market offering them with best opportunities. That means that immigrants will be employed in only industry which is in labor shortage. And this evidence is coming from real case from 20 countries which have accepted immigrants for a long time. So very general and variable evidence. From this point, immigrants will never cause unemployment, just solve labor shortage. 2. No possibility. According to Rodo Seisak Kenkyu Kiko, immigrants will rather tend to create new employment because they will increase labor demand for even native people. Look at the real case. According to the University of Virginia, one immigrant will create 1.2 new employment for native people. So unemployment will not happen, rather create more jobs for native people. 3. Rather benefit. Company want to prioritize immigrants. The reason why current foreign worker wage is cheaper than native, and the company prioritizes them is technical intern system according to Toyo Present Online. However, after that, we have to treat immigrants as an ordinary worker as HEnDA definition. So immigrants will not be prioritized because of that cheap wage. So native worker will never lose job. Thank you.
Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson. I start my question. My name is Raren. In first go to the second attack to the 1, how many second generation will be born? And how many second generation will be born?
I cannot say exactly.
How many?
I cannot say exactly.
How many foreign people will be? How many second generation will be born?
I cannot say exactly, but some of them will make children and they will be permanent residents.
Okay, thank you. Next year, third attack to the 1. present situation is more serious than after this plan. Why?
As we said, aging society will accelerate more and more, and we have to raise consumption tax to 25%. And as evidence, after accepting immigrants,
Okay.
we can.
Okay, thank you. And next year, second attack. How many immigrants? How many jobs were created by immigrants?
According to the University of Virginia, one immigrant will make 1.2 new employment.
Is this evidence in Japan?
No, but according to law.
Okay, thank you. And also, how many Japanese workers will work in those jobs? You didn't say. You want to say that Japanese workers will work in.
This evidence say that immigrants will create jobs for native people.
And so you want to say that immigrants will work in working place that which created by immigrants, right?
No. The immigrants will create jobs for the native people, as I said.
Okay, thank you. And next year, first attack, you talked about labor market, right?
Yes.
Why can you say so? In Japan, same things will happen.
I cannot say
Japan is
exactly,
not introduced labor market system, right?
But this is a general evidence.
Please stop.
Question time has ended.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Shiga. Your first point is that even though the economy is growing, but it is only temporary situation. According to FAIR, until 2100, the GDP will decline by 57%. Like this, in long term, more and more Japanese people will not be able to work, and as a result, GDP will decline. So it is only a temporary situation. So we should change this situation by accepting immigrants temporary, continuous. Second point is that so without taking this plan, we can maintain the welfare. But actually, we could maintain welfare right now. But to maintain long term, we need to raise consumption tax to 25%, as we say that. Third point is that even if we accept immigrants in the long term, financial burden will occur, but they couldn't show us the evidence, so we couldn't know whether the evidence is reliable or not. But at this point, we have the evidence that immigrants will continue to contribute to the economy. According to FAIR, according to RIETI, immigrants contribute to finance, because second and third generation immigrants also contribute to finance. In 2080, budget of welfare for individual people will increase by 20.5%. Then Japanese people don't have to suffer from raising consumption tax. Fourth point is that our evidence is not reliable. But at this point, our evidence is completely reliable. A lot of researches, and also our evidence calculated cost and revenue, and as it concluded in the 30th year later, annual net benefit will be 3.8 billion yen in the 100,000 people, 100,000 immigrants. Thus, after the plan, we could get 7.6 trillion yen benefit. Leading to first attack point is that even now care worker is increasing, but elderly people who need care is rapidly increasing. And even if care worker is increasing, 2 million elderly people will not be able to get care after the ban in the present situation. Second attack point is that our argument is unclear how many immigrants will be care worker. But at this point, we don't know about the future, but look at the foreign country. Germany, Italy succeeded to increase the care worker and so we can care worker shortage, as we see in the year 82. So simply, to learn the foreign country, it is sure that also immigrants will be the care worker in Japan. Third point is that after the plan, demand will increase, but also at this point, second and third generation immigrants will work surely and be care worker and contribute to solve the care worker shortage continues. So at this point, acceptance of immigrants is only way to solve the care worker shortage, even in the long term. Moving to reinforce. DA1 is financial burden, or AD1 is benefit. Which is true, immigrants may benefit or burden. In short term, they admitted that immigrants will give benefit. And in long term, actually, immigrants will be elderly, but second and third generation immigrants pay tax and contribute to the finance. As we see that, in 2080, budget for individual social security system will be increased by 20.5%. Like this, immigrants will surely contribute to the economy in the short term and long term. So we should accept immigrants and solve the problem in the present situation and even in the long term future. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. I start my different speech. My name is Rara. In first, go to the first attack to DA1. and they say it is a clear that pension system will surely collapse, but it is not true because and also they said our calculation is clear, but I will explain. Amount of one's pension tax pension acceptance per year is 2,040,000, and also the average span of receiving pension money is 90 years, and total immigrants number 10 million immigrants. So finally, 2,040,000 multiplied and 19 multiplied 10 million immigrants about 388 trillion yen. We calculate it based on reliable evidence according to Ms. Sogu Kenkijo and the Cabinet Office. So our calculation is so reliable. So that is not important. And also, they misunderstand our DA1. And if immigrants will pay tax, those money will be used current elderly people. It will not use to future elderly people. So they misunderstand our DA1. And next go to the second attack. And they said nobody knows whether immigrants will come to Japan in 50 years, so immigrants will come to Japan, but it is not true because it is high possibility immigrants will not come to Japan 50 years. And according to Deccan Zero said, in a lot of foreign countries, aging population problem is being so serious, so immigrants will never come to Japan after the first 50 years. So our AD2 will surely happen. And let's go to the third attack. And they said, it is serious continued registration is serious than active plan, but it is not true because they couldn't prove that why keeping registration is more serious and what difference will happen and registration and active plan. So that is very unclear. And also go to the first attack. They talked about labor market, but Japan is not introducing a labor market. So this system will not take Japan's system. We check this point. And next go to the second attack. They said immigrants will create a job, but it is not true because they didn't prove that how many immigrants will create job and how many jobs will be created by immigrants. And so the attack is very unclear. And also, according to Nikkei style said, Japanese the unemployment rate is so difficult now in Japan. So if Japanese worker will lose their job, they can't find a new job. So they will surely commit suicide and losing job. And let's go to the third attack. They said our evidence is technical internet evidence, but it is not true because our evidence is about official workers' evidence. And now, actually, an official worker is working with low wage. So after the plan, replace will surely happen. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now have a 2 minutes preparation time. Are you ready?
Yes.
Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson, judges, and audience. My name is Saitama. Today I have 3 points to talk about. Firstly, I will talk about the 82 care worker shortage and the DA2 unemployment. Next, I will talk about 81 boost economy, DA1 pension, about pension system. And finally, I will talk about conclusion in this debate. Firstly, I will talk about 82 and DA2. In the first place, immigrants will never ever deprive the native Japanese job. As we told you, immigrants will take job which is in labor shortage because if company have enough labor, they don't have to take newcomer. And moreover, immigrants' wages will be sent after plan according to the HEnDA definition among the Japanese people and the immigrants who have same job. So that means there are no reason for companies to prioritize immigrants. And moreover, as we told you, immigrants will make a labor demand such as one immigrant will make 1.2 employment. So that means unemployment will never ever happen. And moreover, we can gain number of care workers. Many foreign people want to work in Japan as a care worker, like 44,000 in Filipino. However, because of strict policy, they cannot come to Japan. However, after that, we have to all of them. We have to accept all of them. So we should take this plan. Next, I will talk about the 81 and the DA1. So in the first place, they said without this plan, raising consumption tax rate from 8% to 10% is enough to maintain social security system, including pension system. However, it is a case of short term. And on the other hand, if we look at the long term, 50 years or so, a Japanese population will drastically decrease, especially working population decrease from 6.5 million to 3.7 million. And also economy will shrink by such as 57% of GDP. However, because of aging society, we will need more tax revenue for social security. So as a result, without taking this one, we have to raise consumption tax to 25%, even on the poor people. And as for the pension system, they couldn't consider tax revenue from immigrants. And as we told you, a second generation, third generation, immigrant children and grandchildren will raise up as same as Japanese people, and they can well educated, and they can work as same as Japanese people, and they can contribute tax revenue. So it is no problem. So we should take this one. Finally, I will talk about conclusion in this series. Look at the reality. Japan is facing decrease in population and aging society. Economy will drastically decrease with tax revenue decrease, and we will have to raise consumption tax to 25%, as we told you. And and moreover, the people cannot get essential service, and we have to boost economy. However, it will take long time, more than 5 years or so. So the problem is very urgent. We have to take this one right now. So we should take this one. Thank you.
Thank you. Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson. Let me start my speech. My name is Yusiyama. First, I will compare their AD1 and our DA1 from the viewpoint of uniqueness and possibility and the impact. About their AD1 and DA1's class point is whether we have to take this plan to decreasing burden of social security system. Do we have to introduce this resolution to this decreasing burden? I will compare uniqueness and possibility and impact. About AD1. About the uniqueness, as our tax speaker said, now in Japanese economy is improving now about 21 months. So they talked about, the Japanese speaker talked about 80 years later, but about 80 years later, the demand of receiving social security system is decreasing because the whole population in Japan will decreasing. And also, as our tax speaker said, if we introduce 2,000 immigrants, burden will change to only 1%. The burden change of burden is only 1%. So it is connected that our DA1 will happen. Actually, pension system is no problem because our tax speaker said the media exaggerated the worry about the pension system. Moreover, actually, Japanese government announced that pension system has no problem now. With the help of macroeconomic system and the special budget. So it is the truth. And also about our DA1, their tax speaker talked about tax speaker is talked their tax based on the idea of second and third generation will be born, but they didn't show any evidences. Why can't they say second and third generation will happen? Also, we showed the evidence that immigrants' birth rate is lower than Japanese. And also, we don't admit, but even if their AD1 happen, actually their merit is temporary problem. Because even if AD1 and DA1 happen, very bad things, as they said in the AD1 present situation, will appear after first 50 years. They talked about it is a temporary problem, but after first 50 years, we only repeat very bad situation repeatedly. Meaningless things will happen after first 50 years. We should not take this plan. Next, go to the immigration policy is only harm to the Japanese government. Japan. I will compare the AD2 and DA2 from the viewpoint of possibility. AD2's possibility is very low because the 3 points. First point is they couldn't prove that immigrants will surely take the shortage field of the care workers, and they didn't clear evidence. And why can't this immigrants will surely take that solve the lack of care workers problem? And the target numbers process is unclear. But DA2, they misunderstand that DA2. Offshore workers, our evidence is not training offshore workers. So they couldn't attack they couldn't effective attack to DA2. So DA2 will surely happen process is standing the replace of the between Japanese and immigrants surely happen, and Japanese people lose their jobs and committing suicide finally. Thank you.
Thank you, debaters. The debate is now over. You all did a great job.
Well, I think you'll all agree that we just heard a great debate round, didn't we? And I'm going to tell you something about the result right now, except what the actual result was, because I'm going to save that to the end. But the fact that we had a great debate round, I think, is evidenced by the fact that it's a 3-2 decision. So that tells you that this was a very close debate round, okay? So I'm going to make some comments that I hope will be helpful. Since you're terrific debaters, you already know that you're at a very high standard here, so please take the comments that, that I'll make as a little bit of constructive criticism, because even great teams can improve. But this was really an excellent debate, I think, because it really had a good element of clash and started from the very beginning with looking at the quality of evidence. The very first question was, negative getting up there during cross-acts and trying to indict, the Professor Goto from Keio-Car. When was it? Okay, well, of course, the answer is it's 2017, which is pretty recent, so that's probably not the answer they wanted. But that tendency to always go after the evidence, is this relevant, is this recent, is a very good one. I think that's a sign of good debaters. And we then got into a very good, I think, discussion around the uniqueness of a number of the advantages. So obviously, affirmative's case is boosting the economy for advantage one, and negative gets up there and says, well, this isn't really unique. The economy doesn't need to be boosted. We've had 21 consecutive, quarters of growth. The economy's doing fine. So it's not really unique. But then, of course, what you have is a very good response by affirmative saying that, well, this is a temporary thing. This is looking at the past. This debate, of course, is about the future. How certain can we be that that growth is going to continue? And in fact, there was a wealth of information in the affirmative case that, things are going to go south before too long. All the data about how there'll be a tremendous decline in the number of workers, a tremendous decline in tax revenues, and an increase in the amount of taxes that would have to be imposed. A very good debate, I think, about the consumption tax, where, one of the key issues here that the affirmative is saying is that, you would literally have to raise the consumption tax to a, almost confiscatory, 20% level that would stifle economic growth. Now this can be played both ways. On the one hand, you could say, well, that'll generate the money we need, so there's really no significance to the affirmative plan. But on the other hand, I think most people would realize that if you're in a situation where you're having to raise the consumption tax that much, that's going to be a very dangerous place for the economy. When you get to the second disadvantage, I think this became very important, because the second disadvantage is talking mainly about the impact on Japanese workers. And again, I think the negative team was always very careful to assert their own uniqueness of their disadvantages. And I think you made tax on the other side's uniqueness, but you did a lot at the beginning to sort of bolster your own uniqueness. So you said, look, right now, unemployment is actually going down in Japan. Things are good. We have a good status quo situation. And that's what the negative wants to do, because basically the negative is there to defend the status quo. But things will get bad if all of a sudden these 10 million workers come in and Japanese work's going to suffer. Now, what I think negative could have done a little bit better, though, was to take seriously the evidence that affirmative put in around, well, not so fast. These workers just aren't going to come in and randomly be distributed among all jobs in Japan and take away jobs from Japanese workers. The evidence in other countries, and they cite the evidence in the US and UK, Germany, other countries, is going to be that these workers are in fact going to be targeted in those segments of the economy where there is a labor shortage right now. So rather than taking jobs away from Japanese workers, these foreign workers will be coming in and basically curing the labor shortage with a minimal impact on Japanese workers. So it'll be kind of a win-win situation. So, in my personal view, and again, I'm speaking for myself, and obviously there were 4 other judges, I thought that basically affirmative kind of conceded the impact of DA2 if it were to happen, but focused on the link very well, and so really undermined a lot of the sort of the probability of DA2 happening. But then there's DA1, the pension system. Now, this is a very complicated debate because I think there's a real, I want to say a clash, but actually one of the problems for me was that the clash could have been better because I think that the two teams were basically talking about different time frames. There was a lot of evidence, that was read about, the impact on the pension scheme and when that impact would be had, and that was a theme throughout this debate. A lot of the negative evidence tended to be focusing on, very long-term effects. So even if you go back to some of the cards that were read, in this debate between basically, Professor Goto from Keio talking about some of the short-term effects, and then the Totsubashi, effects that were being read by negative, a lot of them are happening, 30 or 40 years later. How do you compare those two? And that's a theme that I think, both sides could have been, doing a little bit. You did it toward the end in summary, but, you really have to make sure you're comparing apples to apples, not apples to oranges. And as you apply that to DA1 on the pension system, kind of left wondering, well, okay, there's some evidence that the affirmative had, including the New York Times evidence from, other jurisdictions saying that sort of this, next generation of workers that will come from the, children of the immigrants, they're going to continue to be presenting sort of positive benefits that will save the pension system. And that evidence is something that has to be refuted, or else you have kind of a long-term efficacy of the affirmative plan and kind of takes out that DA1 on pension system. But then negative came back and tried to basically bolster that with evidence showing that those people really wouldn't be staying and having that positive impact. And that's the kind of clash you want. It's very difficult in a close round like this. You're really looking at the quality of the evidence. Boy, I could talk a lot more. I know I'm under strict orders to keep this kind of short, so I just want to say, you had 5 judges here. I think all of us were impressed by the quality of the debate. We had 2 very good advantages. We had, 2 disadvantages that, probably were very close then, but in the opinion of 3 of the judges, this debate went to the negative team from Moriyama. In the case of 2 of the judges, the affirmative, so it's a 3-2 decision. The negative team wins, but I think the more important point here is that you've just seen a really excellent debate round, and I think both of these teams are really going to go places. Thank you very much.